everybody, and welcome to Moms on a Mission. We would love to share with you one of our amazing partners. It's an incredibly effective and toxin-free skincare line we have found with organic body essentials. Our friend Vicki Natali has an engineering background, owned a device company, and just could not find a clean, thoroughly organic skincare line. So she created one, and it's called Organic Body Essentials. Miriam and I just love her products. And by using them, you are supporting our Moms on a Mission podcast and Vicki, and she is a patriot. So it's not free. The show's not free. We need your help. Vicki needs your help to keep her company going. So please go to organicbodyessentials.com and you'll receive 5% off your order if you use the code MISSION. That's organicbodyessentials.com. Also, please follow us at momsonamission.net. That's momsonamission.net. You're going to find information there, our latest podcasts, and also drop us a line, questions, comments, and that's moms@momsonamission.net. moms@momsonamission.net. And finally, follow us on your favorite platform.
Julie and I are so honored to have one of our Oklahoma State senators join us today. He was a successful business owner from New York State and moved to Tulsa to attend Rhema Bible College. He later studied web design and now is the owner and operator of Everlasting Enterprises, an online marketing company for small businesses. Welcome to Moms on a Mission, Senator Dana Prieto.
Hello.
Hello, Senator. Welcome to Moms on a Mission. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Well, I've been in business for as long as I can remember. And when we moved to Oklahoma, I went to work for some other companies and decided I wanted to get back into business. About 12, 15 years ago, something like that. I used to work for motivational speakers and sales trainers, and I found out that, hey, there's a new thing called the internet.
That's right.
So I
The World
decided
Wide
I want
Web.
to try to market them on the internet, and that's how I ended up. I went to school for it and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow. Well, I'm impressed that you can move from marketing and internet businesses to politics. I think that's a interesting little transition there. So have you always been interested in politics, or?
I got what actually happened was Senator Nathan Downs' sister, Natasha, I had Natasha and Nathan in our Sunday school class at Rhema.
Okay.
And she contacted my wife and said, do you think Dana would go to door to door with Nathan? And I said, I'm not going door to door. That's kooky stuff. And my wife said, Dana, you have such a strong opinions about these things. I think you ought to go with Nathan. So I went with Nathan one night and I said, Nathan, I can come back 3 nights a week and 2 Saturdays. And so
you were sold.
Just loved it. Yeah, loved it. Loved going door to door, meeting the people. And that's how I got started.
Wow.
Well,
About seven years ago, I'd say.
Yeah,
Julie and I did that.
Yeah, we've done a little
It's
of
a
that.
little intimidating. I'm not going to lie. Even when you know what you believe, why you believe that, but it's almost like witnessing too. When you think about it, you're going to a stranger and you're trying to share some truth and information with them, whether they want to receive it or not.
It's a good test of also, do you really know what you believe and can you articulate it well? And you really don't know what you're going to see when you go to the door, what you're going to hear. And so it's a good time to defend your position. It's a good time to talk to the people and find out what they're thinking. So it's really one of the best grassroots way to connect with your, with your people out there. They need to know who you are. They need to know where you stand, and you need to hear from them. And I think we forget about that because of the internet and because of social media. Some people don't do that anymore. So tell us how you decided to run for state senator.
I say a lot of things start with my wife was praying and
yes,
we were on our way to Branson and she said, we have a place in Branson. And she said, I think we need to pray whether you should run again. And I said, why? You forbid me from ever running again. And she said, well, we were on a pastoral team at a church, a Foursquare church. We had Dan Fisher come in, do the Black Road Regiment. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yeah.
And so the last time he said, Dana, why don't you run again? And I just said, oh yeah, Dan, get out. And that's never going to happen. And Judy said it began eating at her that I should. So then we got together with a group of people and we just started praying about it and felt like I was supposed to do this.
Mhm.
And so then as we continued to pray, we felt like I was on the board of the church we were at, and I felt like I had to resign and go to church at Millennial
Wow.
to win. And that's what we
And
did.
what year was that you ran for state senator?
It was just this past.
Oh, just this
November.
past year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
so I'm a freshman.
Okay.
Now talk to us about running again, because
Yeah, that's what.
I didn't know that you had run previously.
I ran against, well, at that time it was, I forgot his name. I think it was Brown was his last name, Senator Brown. Senator John Haste won that. And I had run against him. And now he and I are very good friends.
That's
and he's
fun.
very helpful to me, has really helped me navigate, because there's so much you have to navigate your working within your own party, which is difficult. I didn't realize that would be happening.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we've learned a lot. Miriam and I have during just 21 and 22 and about the GOP and all the things that are going on that you really didn't know until you actually get in and do some hard work and realize all the interplayings that's going on. It's very educational. Some of it was good news, some of it not so good, and so it needs some improvement. Yeah,
and I probably voted on a lot of things wrong, and which because you just don't understand what's happening. And then there were some bills that I had to go to senators and say, look, I'm going to be a no on your bill, and here's why. I was elected by conservatives, Christian conservatives, to be conservative, and they don't want me to vote yes on this, and so I'm going to be a no, and they were fine with it.
Good. I like that you go and you tell
I do
them
too. I
that,
love
because
hearing that.
I feel like what Julie and I have learned is sometimes it gets to be a good old boy thing, like you pass my bill, I'll pass yours kind of thing. And the constituents, some of the time, are left out of that conversation. And so I respect you for bringing that to their attention. And I mean, what could they possibly say when you say my constituents are conservative voters and they want me to vote this way? I mean, that's what we're representative. You're representatives, right? Like you should be, you should have an opinion, but really you should be voting a collective opinion for your district.
Yes.
Well, Mayor Wimpy said something one time. When she got in, she said, I've got the people on the left saying do this. I've got the people on the right saying do this. I don't know what to do. It's so confusing because I have so many people yelling at me. And Congressman Hearn said to her, you're responsible to the people who got you elected. And so that's what
a good response.
That's what I told this woman who was running the bill. I said, I'm responsible to those people, and they do not want me to vote yes on this.
That's so powerful.
And it's a 6-year term, correct?
No.
No.
It's 4-year term.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So in 3 years I'll be running, we'll be
back
again.
at
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2026 then.
Correct.
Okay. So I would just, people know it's a little different than the federal offices. So like our U.S. senators have a 6-year term, but our state senators have a 4-year term.
And you can only serve 12 years in state.
Yes.
office.
You have a term limit, which I think is good. Yeah. Do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's like, I hope you do, because I'm glad.
I'm pretty passionate about that topic.
Yeah.
I would love to see our U.S. Senate and House also be term limited at some point.
That would be helpful.
Very helpful.
A plaque on my wall that I forgot the group that brought it to me, but because I was for term limits on the U.S. Congressman as well.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You said something earlier. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you had said that you hadn't voted for bills correctly in the beginning. How do you vet bills, and how did you not vote correctly in the beginning?
Well, what happens is when you get in, they first started giving us bills 2 days before they were going to go through a committee. And so then you first vote for a bill in a committee, and then sometimes it has to go through 2 committees, and then it goes to the floor. So they would give us bills a couple of days before, then it started coming out like the day before, and then it started coming out like at 7 or 9 o'clock. And it's not necessarily nefarious. It's that they are, I think there was 3,000 bills. So they have to narrow it down. They're trying to, so they're getting at 7 o'clock. And so what we were doing, my daughter works with me, Sarah Denai, and she was sending these out we have a group. We have about 50 people on, I call them focus groups. So we have like 3 dentists, we have optometrists. So if the bills are coming that are in their respective fields, they look at those and say, I like it, I don't like it.
And here's why.
And here's why. And I don't necessarily agree with them on everything. There was a dental bill that the dentist wanted that I did not like. But I told them I will help them work on it next year and make it a little more fair to both sides. So this year, what we've done is we've taught them all how to go in, get the bills in your any bill that comes through in your respected field coming to an email to you. So that way that they'll know before I know. And they can let me know, hey, there's a bill coming up. I don't know if it's going to make it to committee. If it does, it's a great bill, or hey, watch out for this one. It's not good.
I feel like what you're doing is brilliant. Is that common with senators in Oklahoma?
No. I'm just a business guy and I do things like you do in business.
But that's exactly what we need. That's exactly what. How do you choose these people, these advisors? Are they in your district, or these are just experts in the field that you've chosen?
They're people that I have. Some of them are in my district, some of them are not.
Okay.
Some of them I've met. Some of them call my office. A business guy. His wife is an optometrist. He owns, I think, 100 doors. So he's got another business. And he called my office complaining about something, some bills that were coming up. And I said, you know what? I said, I want you on my.
There you go. Put him to work.
Yeah.
Put him to work.
I love that.
He called me the other day. There was a place in Owasso, a liquor store, and they wanted to open a second store and they wouldn't let him open up the second store. So I called I forgot who it was. He called me and he said, will you call them? I called. I said, look, I don't drink. I don't have a dog in the race. I said, but I'm all for businesses.
Yes.
And I said, what's happening here is not right. You got to let them open up the second store.
Wow.
And they did.
How do you feel like your faith has woven into your job as a senator?
I think we pray an awful lot about things. Some stuff is, like I'm working on electricity. That's not that. I don't necessarily have to pray about that. But I don't know how I can say this here. We're doing an interim study on the DHS. It's called the Welfare of Children in the State of Oklahoma. And I got Senator Shane Jett working with me, Senator Mary Boren, who is a Democrat, because I felt what was happening was too important not to bring the other side in. And then I've got J.J. Humphrey from the House and John Talley from the House, who are all working with me.
That's really what we need to do is lock arms with those we can on the other side and work together.
Yeah, more bipartisan efforts. I mean, do you find in the Oklahoma House that in Senate that is commonplace, or are you kind of leading the charge on that?
We will vote yes on their bills if we think it's a good bill. I haven't seen too much of it. I think it does happen. But I just decided what we were going after here with DHS, that it was too important not to involve the Democrats.
Yes.
And so I reached out to Senator Mary Boren, who I really like. She's a lawyer. And actually what she told me was that if she would never run for office if Republicans were taking on the stuff that you're taking on. And she said people don't typically want to fight for justice. And so that's, my father was a colonel, and I was brought up never start a fight, but always finish one. And so, there was a movie. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was respect the land and defend the defenseless. And so that's what I do. There's a lot of cases with DHS where they're being completely railroaded by DHS. And so I'm working on that.
Well, I was just going to ask one more question. Sorry. I was just curious about the sound of freedom and just I feel like the children are a hot topic right now. Thank the Lord. And I feel like people are paying more close attention to this topic. I mean, do you feel like that's helpful as you're advancing this bill at this time?
Yeah, we've got a couple bills that we will write, but we will work with Dr. Shropshire, who is, we have all agreed that we believe she's a great leader for, it's just that there's so much happening. She's new. She's actually newer than I am. And so we want to help her see some of the things that are going on. I'd asked Senator Shane Jett, I said, do you think it's 1% of the time they get this wrong or 10% of the time? And he said too many times that they get it wrong. And I've been talking to some advocacy groups, and they said they believe it's more like 60% of the time that it's wrong. This morning, Channel 23 called me to it. They said, will you please help? Will you please help? There was a couple, their kids were preemies, so they're very small, even at 4 months. And their pediatrician called DHS and said, these kids are not at the weight they should be at. So they gave them a list of 9 things they had to work on. They got 6 of them done in a week, and they got the kids up to the weight, but they wanted to bring the kids in this morning. And so I told them, do not bring the kids in. I said, I will go with you. And this advocacy group went with us too. And I met the DHS worker, and she assured me they were not trying to take the kids. And I said, well, that's good. That's very good. Thank you. And I texted her and told her, thank you. She gave me her text number. I said, thank you so much for explaining that you're not trying to take the kids. That's very good.
Well, I just want to point out to our audience that this senator right here is the real deal. I've only just met him, but my dad was a man of justice as well. And he taught me how to just to be able to discern good people. And what you described about yourself and the work that you're doing, I just have to stop and say this because you're a statesman. You are already, and you haven't been in that long because you're working the way the government is supposed to work. You're a businessman taking time out and taking time in to help serve your government. And you're stepping out of being just a GOP or a conservative and going across party lines on things that you can and having civil conversation. And I'm sure there's some arguing going on, but you come out better. You're stepping in, like you just described, going to DHS and walking side by side by your constituents. Not only that, you're bringing people in to help you out in the business world, because you need to be listening to people that are actually, you are outside of your Senate office. You have a business and you've been working out in the community, but right now your focus is the Senate in Oklahoma City. So you're listening to your people. We don't have that very often, people. I'm going to tell you that right now. And these are the kind of men that we need running our state government and in Washington, D.C. So I just had to stop and say that because as you were talking, I was kind of making a checklist of all the things that we need in people running for office, and you fill the bill. So I just had to say that. Yeah. And so I want to move though to something that happened just a couple of weeks ago here in Tulsa. You called a press conference with our state superintendent. I know Miriam was in attendance. I unfortunately missed that, but tell us how that came about.
Well, Elena Ashley and I have been friends way before she got elected, way before I got elected. And she was doing a commencement at East Central High School. At the end of it, she didn't know how to close. And so she just said, I pray that you find what you're looking for. I can't remember exactly how she said it. And then she said, in the name of Jesus. And, people started, I'm melting. They said the name of Jesus. And
having God we trust on our money.
Yeah, there's actually from the federal site, there's recommendations for commencements, and you are allowed to pray at the end of the commencement or the beginning of it. This is from the federal State Department for Education. It's their interpretation of the Constitution or the amendments, and they said that you are allowed to pray. And so anyhow, so that's why I called the press conference. So I got 2,000 signatures in about 10 to 15 days from parishioners saying we want her to pray. We like the prayer at commencements. And so we had a bunch of, actually there was 3 teachers and 2 librarians came out. They had megaphones and they were yelling and screaming and trying to shut us down. I mean, it was like, it reminded me of Mussolini's black shirts. That's what they did was they went into meetings that did not agree with them.
Right.
In the beginning, they would shout at them and try to close the meeting down, which happened to Elena. She was kicked out of El Patron. She used to have her community meetings in El Patron, and they told her you can't come back anymore because they had to call the police because it was so unruly. So that's why they moved it to Pastor Dixie's church.
Wow. I mean, that's just so frustrating to hear that the shouts of people screaming. And you were there. What were they saying? Just did they had to shut her down from talking? And even at the press conference, right?
One of them was saying that her daughter didn't just personal attacks on her character, and then they were yelling out, to let a rabbi pray who was there, because they had her, which brilliantly had her come up and start the press conference with a prayer. And so, it was just degrading. And honestly, it's a Marxist approach to try to silence speech and to intimidate and use the fear factor and fear mongering to silence. And, kudos to you, Senator, because you, along with Alina, kudos to her and everybody, they just kept standing there and just speaking and not being visibly affected by their intolerance and the yelling and screaming.
Yeah. And people need to know what happened, because I think, left, and I talk about this all the time, our audience, like, okay, I heard this, but I just have to keep saying it. This is not liberal thinking. This is leftist, Marxist, progressive. So I think, like you're saying, Mussolini style, which if you don't know who Mussolini is, look him up, because that's scary.
Very scary.
Let's talk about, shutting down speech, shutting down freedoms, pretty much you have no freedoms at all. And so, our fundamental right is our freedom of speech. And this press conference flies in the face of that. And the fact that people don't, obviously our education system has failed. The one sitting out there shutting down Alina, let her have her time and you'll get your time.
Right. But see, this is the thing that, first of all, I read an article in the newspaper and it said both sides were yelling out things, and it wasn't both sides. I was there. So you were there. It was one-sided. It was completely. So that was a lie and totally erroneous.
There were a couple people from our side that we didn't know them, but they came out to support us and they were yelling.
Oh, see, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, but that was because those people were yelling first. And so they were trying to
help Alina.
Okay. I don't think that's very helpful either.
Well, I think the volume, I couldn't, I was even on their side and I could not hear them compared to the volume of
which was the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all for arguing. Fine. If you have something that you want to say, wait till they're finished and then you can have your time. You can have your own press conference. But to shut the press conference down with attacks and it's very
I think part of the problem is they think that's pretty cool to do when, the shoe fits, right? When it's like their message that they're wanting to yell in your ear and they're wanting to shut you down. But what if our country, it's the freedom of speech that allows them to act that way.
Yes.
So what if they're acting like, this communist, socialist, Marxist, these countries, and they're communicating that way by trying to silence free speech. Imagine throwing them into those countries and seeing how much they would like, these concepts, but working against them.
Right.
One of the people there was a teacher in Tulsa Public Schools. He was fired from Owasso Public Schools for, he's a Satanist. And I have to say, he was the most respectable person there. He was very, all he did was hold up a sign. And, but he was fired from Owasso Public Schools for saying the kids are his incubators. The parents, I have them 8 hours a day. So he was fired. Then TPS picked him up right away and became a teacher there. And so it's a group of, and that was a small group they had there, probably because they're working during the day. I think I made it at 3 o'clock.
Yes.
And there is when they came to Alina's, there was at least like 40 of them that came, and they were yelling and screaming, and again the same tactics. And where El Patron said, you can no longer have meetings here at our restaurant.
Wow. Are they from her district?
No, not necessarily.
I think that would be interesting to allow people to come to meetings to prove that they're in that district, and so that they have something to say about that district meeting. I'm just saying,
one of the librarians I know is in Alina's, it's in her school district.
Okay.
So some of the teachers are, I think.
Oh, in the district. So if you had to just summarize, what do you think is at the root of all this chaos that's in our country right now?
The root of what is, that's a good question. Probably intolerance from both sides. And I think that probably the left, I tell people, we always start out every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and it starts out with I, the individual, and it ends up with justice for all. And so each of us has to be for all of us. But just as important or more important, all of us have to be for each of us. And so, and that's what I don't see. We are not, the left wants to shut anybody down who has a difference of opinion. And they don't realize that is, that's communism. Or as a matter of fact, there's a lot of the GOP is bringing a guy in who is a gay. He's a very conservative guy, and he's teaching us how to go door to door and how to get people registered. He's an expert at it. We don't care. He's just very good at that. So we bring him in. So we have nothing against the LGBTQ as a party, as a Republican Party. But they seem, there's a group of them, put it that way, that tend to really hate us.
When you think about the Constitution that was formed and these amendments that were formed to give them this freedom of speech, there was so much debate going on. I mean, they valued that, they prized that critical thinking that was occurring, and what formed and what they formed with that debate was our Constitution, was our Declaration of Independence. That was a derivative of debate.
It makes me think of, you see pictures in Washington, D.C., or you can look them up, but when the founding fathers were in Philadelphia working on the Constitution, it was hot in the summer and they were worn out. They were coming, if you read, the primary sources that we're always talking about, there was a lot of arguing going on. They weren't sure what was going to happen. And I think Benjamin Franklin came out and said, well, we've got ourselves a democratic republic. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to keep it, but it almost sounded like an exasperation. So we've been a country that was founded on listening, like you said, to different ideas. And maybe we don't agree on everything, but we can argue and come out with something that's hopefully better and hopefully will be the best for the country. But shutting people down is not going to solve any of the problems.
Yeah, no, I think, well, what'll happen is then you really will end up with a communist nation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And really that's these checks and balances that we have with the way our government is even set up. I mean, checks and balances, that's a good thing. I mean, that's a very good thing. And a democracy is not a good thing where mob rules. I mean, people right now think we have a democracy and they don't even know that we have a constitutional
That's
republic.
what the mainstream media keeps telling us.
Yeah. Like, this isn't democracy. This isn't. And we're like, well, you're right. It's a republic. So the mob doesn't rule or shouldn't rule. Maybe they do, but they shouldn't. They shouldn't rule here.
Well, tell us a little bit what you think about what the average mom and dad and grandparent and citizen can do to push back against some of these tyrannical forces that we see.
Get involved, like you guys are. Get involved. I go to school board meetings, hear what's going on, hear who's talking, see if you have a more reasonable voice to speak to the school board. But then also get involved with the Republican Party. That's my big thing, is get involved with the party.
And we are part of Women for Tulsa, and that's what we've done. And when we started discovering all these things that were happening after COVID, it just opened up our eyes. And so we joined Women for Tulsa and even work a little bit with Moms for Liberty, and just trying to stay educated. And really, it doesn't take a ton of time to go to once a month, a 2-hour school board meeting or a city council meeting. I mean, education is so critical. And that's why with our podcast, we talk about our 3 pillars are educate, awake, and activate, because you need to have the information and then do something with it. And we always talk about, you might not have a lot of time. You might be in a stage of life as a mom or a dad where you're just hands-on and you're carpooling and driving everywhere. But we can all do something.
Yeah, there's a time in your life when you seem like you can't add one more thing, but you could talk to your neighbor, maybe make a post, like we've been talking about this vote coming up tomorrow in Tulsa. We've been putting out the word to vote no, and that's how we work.
All 4 prepositions, FYI, vote no.
So, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, your relatives, remind your circle to vote, because I think a lot of people miss some of the elections even, and everybody can go vote.
Yeah, that's
right. We've got plenty of time.
That's a real simple, get educated from a show like this.
Yeah.
And go vote.
So I want to know if you know anything about this statistic, and I don't know where it's from, so I'm not saying it as like a fact, but I've heard on 2 different occasions that in Tulsa, on average, 20% of Tulsans come out to vote.
That would be, I think that's accurate. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
It's a low number,
but it is, even of the, Obama was elected the second time. The state of Florida he lost by the exact number of registered Christian conservatives who could not bother to show up at the
That's
at the
disheartening when
polls
you hear
that
that.
day. And that's how he lost the state of how Obama won
State of
Florida.
Florida.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so incredibly disturbing. And that can make me go off on a tangent, which I'm not going to
And
do.
I'm going to be curious about how many people show up tomorrow for the one.
Yeah, it'll be real. In my precinct, I'm seeing about 20 people probably show up.
Yeah.
How many people are in your precinct?
Thousands.
I'm going to be really curious about that. I'm going to try to go first thing. I wanted to vote this weekend, early voting, but I forgot. But I'm going to go in the morning. I'm going. It's on my
Yes, my wife and I will
first
be there
thing.
too.
Yeah.
I like voting on election day.
Yeah.
There's something
I just like the tradition of that.
There's something exciting about that. It's
I think so, too.
exhilarating that we have the freedom to vote like that. Like that is a thing. It's a gift. It's
Yeah.
a big deal. Like people should be excited about it.
Yeah,
But
voting by mail is not as fun.
no, I've done
Yeah.
that. I didn't like that.
No.
What is your take on the school choice bill and how that affects Oklahoma students and families?
School choice, you mean being able to send your kid to a private school?
Yes.
I voted yes on that. I go back and forth on that, whether I like that. When my wife and I were young, we always wanted something like that. So, now the fear is that the government will be involved in
That's what I've heard some.
homeschooling and things. And the reason what they had to do, because they're giving some money towards homeschooling, and what they felt was that the loudest voices were the people who did not want any money for public schooling, but that there were people who wanted money for public schooling. So they passed that, but then again, the fear is that they'll be able to control it. But if you don't have to accept, you don't have to sign up, you don't have to get the voucher,
Right.
and then they'll never know anything about your homeschooling.
I don't, and this just speaks to my ignorance about this subject, but I don't understand, like, why could they just not, why does the money even have to go to the government and then come back to us? Why can't, if you can prove that you're being homeschooled or prove that you are in a Christian school or private school, why couldn't you just prove that? It seems like you could avoid a control if you just didn't even give them the money to begin with. Like if it were a credit, you know what I mean?
Well, that is, yeah. So what they're doing is it's a tax credit, and so you do have to it's a voucher tax credit. So you have to show that you have your child in one of these. And the reason they had to define homeschool is because they were giving money to private schools, and so they had to delineate between what is a
Right.
homeschool and what is a private school. And so that's just the way they set it up this year. It didn't pass last year because they were doing something different. I forgot what it was.
Okay.
But this year, that's how they made it pass.
Now, can anybody use this? Because I think I had heard that there was a cap of some sort, and that not just we couldn't all do this if your income was at a certain level.
Yes, I don't remember what the statistic or what the income level was. And so what they're doing is there's so much money in the pot, let's say, and then you have to, if you're under a certain income, that you get first dibs at it. Then it opens up to the next level.
Oh,
and from there,
okay.
it keeps on going up.
Yeah, I wasn't
Okay.
sure how that was working. And is that for this upcoming school year?
Yes.
Okay, so it starts this year. So if you need more information, that you can reach out to your local legislator, right? That will help you maybe with that, or who?
Yes.
Okay,
Or is it online anywhere?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, where it is, I don't know.
okay.
Oh,
Well, we'll
okay.
do a little research
Yeah,
on that.
and maybe
Try to
put a
figure-
link.
I think a lot of us knew that the bill passed. We just weren't really sure what details
yes.
passed. I think that was a little bit confusing.
Fuzzy.
Yeah. I mean,
It
even
was
if you,
confusing to us.
Oh,
yeah.
that's scary.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
we all need to get more involved, right? In several ways. Well, thank you, Senator, for joining us today. It's been so informative. I hope the audience has learned something. I know I have.
Mhm.
And it also makes me want to do more to go out and support our local school board officials who are really taking a lot of heat. And I know Ryan Walters is taking a lot of heat.
Yes.
So
Oh, yes.
we want to support you, and we can find you on the website at the oksenate.gov or simply Dana Prieto on Facebook.
Prieto.
Correct?
Is
Did I
it
say it wrong?
Prieto?
There's there's an official, it's Prieto from the.
Prieto, okay.
There's an official one from the state that they've set up for me.
Okay.
And then I have a campaign one, and then of course I have a personal one.
Okay. Well, we will link those to our show notes. So
right.
Yeah, so we're so glad that you joined us today. And so please follow us at momsonamission.net. That's momsonamission.net. And please leave us a comment or a question. If you have a question for the senator, we can get that to him. And that's moms@momsonamission.net, moms@momsonamission.net. And please follow us on your favorite platform. Moms on a Mission is excited to partner with our friends at MyPillow. According to sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle to get a good night's rest. That's where MyPillow comes in. They make the best pillows, sheets, mattresses, and mattress toppers. Several years ago, I was having trouble falling and staying asleep due to neck and shoulder pain. Luckily, I heard an ad about MyPillow and decided to give it a try. After 3 or 4 days, I really began to feel a difference. I was sleeping better and my neck and shoulders felt so much better. MyPillow really does help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Moms on a Mission wants you to get a great night's rest too. Go to mypillow.com right now and use the promo code MISSION for up to 66% off your purchase. MyPillow products are made in America and have a 60-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty. Remember, go to mypillow.com, put in the special code MISSION for your special Moms on a Mission discount. Thank you and God bless.
Hey guys, it's Moms on a Mission here. Are you worried about your financial stability and protecting the money for which you work so hard? The problem is stock market volatility and inflation. You may be wondering what you can do to preserve your family's wealth. We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our friend Andrew Sorcini with Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Andrew is the expert in educating you to help you find the right balance of gold and silver for your family portfolio. He made it so easy for me to add precious metals to my financial investments. I simply mailed a check to Beverly Hills Precious Metals and my silver showed up on my doorstep a few days later. It was so easy. Go to bh-pm.com to save a little money and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. That's bh-pm.com. Don't wait. Protect your wealth today by going to bh-pm.com and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you.